There's no need to see flowers any other way than the way they always have been seen. But the little boy said, there are so many colors of rainbow, so many colors in the morning sun, so many colors in the flower, and I see everyone.
Hey, 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 it's Green Thumbs Up Day. That's Sunday, and this is that show, the gardening show you didn't know you needed. It's the one where everyone's an expert, but nobody has all the answers. Assalamu alaikum. I'm your host, Rabia Carvhalo, and today we have a very, very special show lined up for you. So if you have Facebook or if you have YouTube, go ahead and log in there right now and look for Radio Al Ansar. If you haven't followed us yet, please go ahead and do that. Now, today we have a special show because we have a follow-on from the bonsai show we did a while ago. I had Sister SALMA, KAZI, Sister SALMA KW, and she is from the Sunday Lounge, my fellow colleague and presenter of the Sunday Lounge, and she's going to be joining us yet again as we make some air bonsai. Now, what am I talking about? Talking about something called a kokedama. 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 That is what it is. Japanese art of kokedama. It is air gardening at its best. So why is this important? Well, some of us don't have a lot of space in our homes. Some of us may not have a balcony. Some of us may not have a windowsill that we can put plants on, and yet some of us still want to grow, whether it's herbs, whether it's ornaments, it's flowers. And the Kokedama presents us with the opportunity to do just that. Now, while I wait for Sister SALMA to join us, I've got a riddle for you this morning. And my riddle is, what can you put in a bucket to make it weigh less? What can you put in a bucket to make it weigh less? WhatsApp your answers to 060 904 1056. For those of you who are not joining us on YouTube and Facebook, never fear. We are going to be talking you through things step by step. Now, what we've done this morning is to bring in, I brought in everything that you could possibly need to make a kokedama. There are different ways of making it. Now, a few weeks ago, I think we're going back a month now. It was a month ago, yeah, that we did our bonsai in studio, and I have brought mine back. So if you are on YouTube, I'm going to lift it up so you can see it. It is quite a heavy piece. Oh, girl, here it is. So for those of you who can't see it, whoops, on camera, there it is. This is what my bonsai is looking like. What I've done since we had the show is I pulled away some of the pebbles. I covered the entire surface of the pot with pebbles, and I decided it would be really nice to have a little bit of an organic flow in the pot. So I've kind of drawn a squiggly line just off center, and half of that line I've filled with pebbles, and half of the line I have filled with moss. Now, moss is really important when we're talking about kokedama. Moss is really important when we're talking about kokedama because what does kokedama stand for? It stands for koke, meaning moss, and dama, meaning ball in Japanese. So if you want to go ahead onto Google, you can see that essentially what it looks like is a round ball of soil, substrate, mud, a mix of things, usually containing quite a lot of organic matter, and it is typically in the old days surrounded by moss, and the plants pop out of it. So you can use it very structurally if you like the very formal approach. You can use palms like we are using the bamboo palm this morning. And we're going to be making a kokedama with a bamboo palm, or you can even grow your herbs in it. So let's say you don't have a windowsill and you don't have a garden. Well, you can still go ahead and plant your herbs. And you can plant your herbs in this KOKADAMA. Now, there's a message that's come in from Zenith. She says, Assalamu alaikum, Sister Rabia. Feathers. Answer to the riddle. No, not feathers, I'm afraid. Not feathers. I'm not quite sure how. There we go. Okay, so who else has made a guess? Okay, somebody else here says, I know what it is. Oh, no, they are kidding. Stones, not stones. No, the question is, what can you add to a bucket to make it lighter? Today we have our buckets here. So KOKADAMA, going back to our topic for whilst you WhatsApp in your answers, it stands for, as I said, a moss ball. It is kind of like, it's called the poor man's version of a bonsai. So bonsai pots can be very expensive if you've looked into bonsai, as well as the bonsai soil. The pebbles like soil can be quite expensive. And so, although the bonsai art goes back hundreds of thousands of years, KOKADAMA is more recent. It arose between 1604 and 1800s. It became very popular in that time, and increasingly it's become popular, and people are kind of changing how they do it depending on where they live. And today we're going to use a cheat method to make KOKADAMA that is so easy, so easy. As I was saying, if you want to grow herbs, let's say you're wanting some perennial basil and you're wanting some Thai basil, or you're wanting some parsley and you just don't have that windowsill, but you have a really lovely sunny window. Imagine suspending balls of earth in the air from which grow these herbs, and you can harvest and clip and keep going, right? So you don't even need a pot. What you do need, according to our riddle as well, is a bucket. Now, let's have a look here. A bucket. How do you make that bucket lighter? Well, I'm going to tell you, since nobody so far got the answer right. No? Image Osman says air. Well, yes, air won't necessarily make it lighter though, will it? The answer is a hole. Yes, if you make a hole in the bucket is lighter. Aswat Philly, sound engineer, is doing the classic face palm. Assalamu alaikum, brother. How are you?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
How was your week?
Alhamdulillah, I can't complain.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, today we are not just having a KOKADAMA, we are also having some Japanese oolong cha. So this is oolong tea, and the difference between oolong tea, green tea, and our normal tea is really how long the leaves are fermented. That's a topic for another day. So I hope that you're going to join us in a couple of weeks as we have our Japanese tea ceremony and discuss different forms of tea. But suffice to say, today we have oolong cha in the house together with all our KOKADAMA bits and pieces. Now, we were saying KOKADAMA is the poor man's bonsai. It stands for moss and ball. It can be suspended. Any tree that you would usually use for bonsai, you can use to make a KOKADAMA. But you can also use a lovely flowering bush that you like. You can use annuals if you want to. Remember, if it's an annual, it is going to die at the end of the season, so you're going to need to replenish it. But if you go with a perennial plant, that is a plant that doesn't die when the summer ends, doesn't die back even, then you're good to go. So what do we need for our KOKADAMA? There are a couple of things that I have on the table here today. And I have, firstly, for those who cannot see it, I have 2 see-through buckets without the hole. And in this bucket, we have made a mix of soil, and I'm going to talk about the various mixes that you can use. I have some plants. The first one here is a bamboo palm, which is traditionally used. KOKADAMA, the traditional KOKADAMA, is made with plants that have large leaves. So you could use lily, anthurium, beautiful in a KOKADAMA because, of course, they flower in legend. hanging balls of soil covered in moss or something else. And then you have this flower popping out at the top and it blooms and it's beautiful. So today we have bamboo palms. I also have two different plants here. I've brought with me some portulaca, the happy hour rosita ones. So portulaca is like a succulent. It's quite low growing. It has very, very pretty pink flowers, this one. And I have brought with me as well some pink leaves. These are the hypostes and it's the confetti pink, so that we can play with the idea of having green and pink, because why not? After all, on the 30th of October, we will be having Pink Hijab Day, and that will be in honor of all cancer survivors, breast cancer. So why not start early and have some pink flowers? So we have those flowers. So you're going to need your plants. You're going to need a bucket to work in. You're going to need some cotton. So just those plain cotton reels that you would typically use in the socks, if you still mend socks, or to kind of sew with, right? Just some sewing thread is absolutely fine, and something to snip it with. You then need some twine. So the twine that I've got here is actually some jute ribbon. There's so many different colors of jute ribbon that you can use to really surround your moss ball. You can make it with moss or you can make it with something else. And today I have both here. I have some sphagnum moss. And for those of you who grow orchids, you will know sphagnum moss. You can buy sphagnum moss when it looks brown and you think it's dead. And then you can buy sphagnum moss that is still kind of green in the packet, but it is dry. And you may think that sphagnum moss cannot regrow. You cannot grow it at home. Now, here's the thing. Sphagnum moss is actually quite cheap to grow at home, easy to grow at home, and yet expensive to buy. So let me start with telling you how to grow your sphagnum moss. You're going to get some of the dry sphagnum moss, the stuff that looks dead, and then you're going to get some of the greenish sphagnum moss. It's also dry, it's also in a packet, but it's green. And for this, you're going to take some of the green sphagnum moss. So take a bowl, put your dry sphagnum moss in the bottom, and then put your green sphagnum moss on top of that. And all you have to do is keep it moist. Keep it moist. So put your sphagnum moss onto the dry sphagnum moss. If you put it into a see-through container, it's too beautiful because you get to see these tiny little crystals of sphagnum moss begin to grow. So put the dry sphagnum moss into your glass, a little bit of the green sphagnum moss on top. Cover it with a paper, a plastic, the cling wrap, that's what it's called, cling wrap. Or if you have a lid, you can use a lid. Make sure you put some holes in there because it needs to breathe. You don't want mold growing, you want sphagnum moss. What do you water it with? Plain water. And you can make as much fresh sphagnum moss as you want. As sphagnum moss grows, it actually grows in threads. Think of grass, but very tightly packed grass and very soft. That is essentially what sphagnum moss is going to look like. It's going to take the shape of your container as well. So if you wanted to grow it for a bonsai pot, for instance, you could actually use that bonsai pot as your mold in which to grow your sphagnum moss. You just need to seal the holes at the bottom. And that is how you would grow your sphagnum moss. Now, let's take a look at the origins of KOKADAMA. So initially we had bonsai. Everybody knows bonsais, the little trees. We had our Nature's Market Day with these beautiful bonsais, and we had a bonsai competition. The Bonsai Association came through and they were so kind to bring in all those bonsais, so we know them. The little trees in soil. However, because the pots are expensive and because people couldn't really buy the KOKADAMA, which is the soil for bonsai, they came up with this genius concept of having the bonsai suspended in air and using a mix of organic matter. How did that happen? Well, it started in the gardens. They piled their compost heaps up high, and once those compost heaps were up high, they just threw moss on top of it. And from there, they would make a hole and they would grow the plants. The moss works as a natural mulch and will keep our plants healthy and will keep the soil damp so that you are able to actually have healthy plants. So from growing things in these mounds outdoors without pots, they thought, well, hang on, what if I could take that moss, wrap it around some soil with some organic matter and pop some plants in there? Would it work? And yes, it works. How long does a KOKADAMA last in your home? It will last 2 to 3 years before you need to repot the actual KOKADAMA, because it will eat away all the nutrients that are in that ball of soil with moss. And walking into studio here is the Sister SALMA. KAZI WAHAB. Assalamu alaikum.
I'm so sorry.
How are you?
Good morning.
Sister SALMA, you bought your bonsai. Let's have a look at the camera. Would you show it to the camera? This
Yours
is,
got moss.
yes, I grew some moss on it. This is what I did.
Yours
I
look
made some
beautiful.
mountains.
Assalamu alaikum. Sorry, Asif. How are you? Everybody else.
I made some little mountains. Whoops, I separated the,
Oh,
I made like an organic line, moved the stones off to that side. And you see I've got a little rose quartz crystal in it because the frequencies of rose quartz crystal actually help plants to grow.
See, now, all these secrets you didn't tell me the last time. How I'm going to get the moss to grow and the crystals. And
We're supposed to do a take two, but let's have a look at your bonsai. Enough of this one.
no moss on my one, unfortunately.
That's okay. That's okay. I'll show you how to grow.
You can inspect it. Bring
Oh.
it for a checkup.
Oh, it's pretty. Oh, she's a pretty. We do need to clean up that little branch because that branch
There's
is
quite
going
a
to grow.
few little growths here and there, and I
Yes.
wasn't quite sure what to take out and what.
Yes. So it depends on how you want your bonsai to look. If you're wanting it to look very structural with just the leaves on the end, you would clip things in the middle. If you want to clip back and let those get bushier along the branch, you can do that too. And so it's entirely up to you, actually. It's entirely up to you. So I have here,
I was following along the way here, so
oh,
pay
wonderful.
attention.
Okay, wonderful. So here is your oolong cha.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, your Japanese oolong cha. And yes, bismillah. And there we go. We have our oolong tea because we are here doing the whole Japanese thing. Now, kokebama or even bonsai are part of a Japanese feel-good, tranquility, peaceful living kind of vibe. Okay, so the cultural significance of the kokegama is that these plants actually clean the air, even more so if you're using plants that clean the air. Like, for example, your spider, the spider plant, you know, that green and white one? That's actually brilliant for cleaning the air, for ozonating the air. Another nice one is even your curry bush, your olive trees, your thorn bushes. You could also use them. Be careful if you're using thorn bushes because you could prick yourself. Now, we need to take a quick ad break. It is 9:30, so catch us right after the ad break. Don't go away.
Radio Al-Ansar, 24/7, 365. Join me, Zara Khan, and other leading ladies at an exciting ladies-only Mahfil-e-Naat program on the 10th of November at the Al-Ansar Hall, 189 West Road, Overport. Time 2 to 5 p.m. Don't miss out on this opportunity and book your tickets at 150 Rand at the Al-Ansar Bookshop or contact Zoha on 0633 079 237. See you there.
Your style upgrade is here. Shade Auction, Shade Bring, please say, with up to 50% off on all items. From 23rd October to 3rd November 2024, shop in stores or online at ca.richardshade.com.
Sunday Love with Salma. Celebrity. Events
Come get our best for less at Chicken Foods Cowie Park. Fully certified halal butchery products like chicken breast fillets, just $59.99 per kg. Tenderized beef steak, just $89.99 per kg. Bulk lean beef mint, just $89.99 per kilo. Texan steak, $89.99 per kg. And leg of lamb, just $149.99 per kilo. Deals valid until Sunday, October 27th, only at Checkers Foods Cowie Park. Now certified by the NIHT, the National Independent Halal Trust, across our butchery, bakery, and deli.
Hungry for flavour? Head over to Nando's Pavilion, Westfield Mall, or Oceans Mall, where our flame-grilled peri-peri chicken is always fresh and flavourful. Experience our hospitality by dining in at Nando's Pavilion, Westfield Mall, or Oceans Mall, which are all NIHT certified, and stand a chance to win a holiday getaway for four, valued at 10,000 Rand at the Umhlanga Sands. Nando's! Fire it up!
Radio Al-Ansar, 24/7, 365.
Hey, you are back with Green Thumbs Up. I'm Rabia Carvhalo and I'm here with SALMA, KAZI, WAHAB, and we are about to make KOKADAMA.
Yeah, I had a fun time trying to remember that name. KOKADAMA, I don't know what name I was telling you.
KOKADAMA, Bagama. It's KOKADAMA.
Kokabama.
Actually, it's just with
Dama.
a D. Yeah, even I spelled it wrong. So now you can get hanging ones, you can stand them up, you don't need a pot. I'm just checking the soil because what I've got here, so what is the soil mixes that we could use?
Looks like a good old brownie mix.
It does, hey, a nice, yummy, and it's kind of sturdy. You know, normally when you check the soil in your garden, you don't want clay.
Yeah.
But here you want something that's got a little bit of clay. This is still quite, you can see there's still fluid water in here. So we will be using some cloth to take away.
Should I be doing that also making a ball?
No, we're going to do that in a minute. So first thing you're going to do is select your plants. So let's grab some plants. Here we have some,
I'll hold that.
okay, I'll grab, there are 4 in here. So that's perfect. There we go. I'll take 2 and there's 2 for you. And the first thing we want to do, as with bonsai, is we want to get rid of any straggling roots that are way too many. Remember, we never cut off more than a third of the roots, but I just want us to snip these extra long ones. I'm just snip it onto there. Just going to snip the extra long ones off because just a third of them, because I don't want them. There you go. I don't want them to, stick out of my ball. So
Like here is okay?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. Great. And then I have, you could just do that. You could just do the palm sticking out of the top of the ball. KOKADAMA can get quite fascinating because you could have plants growing from the top and from the bottom. You could have some ivy crawling up a stick that pokes out of the ball. Anything you like. So I am going to take some of this high posties. I want to call it high posties because the name is quite unfortunate, but yes, it's high posties. I'm going to take one of those out of this 6-pack. I don't know if you'd like one of those or one of the portulaca. Entirely up to you. Entirely up to you. The portulaca.
It's a happy hour plant.
I think that's the color, right? So what we're wanting to do is we want to jam that little plant into the base of
1 or 2 of them.
As many as you want, because remember, the more you put in, the bigger the ball. The bigger the ball, the more complicated the tying up. So we don't want to be too complicated. Right. I think my soil is a little bit too damp. I'm going to add some more. I've got some extra soil here in my bucket without a hole. I'm going to
So you're going to take the plant with the flower against the bottom of the taller one?
Yes.
That's what you're doing?
Yes. Yes, because you want to remember anything that sticks out of the top of that is what's going to stick out of the ball. Those roots, the roots of your plants, if you have a plant and you're making a KOKADAMA, those roots are going to be inside a ball of mud, so to speak. And that ball of mud, you can use bonsai soil, works well, along with peat moss if you're wanting to, peat if you're wanting to grow moss on the outside. We are having a bit of a cheat moment, and so I have got these cocoa coir liners that line baskets, and we're going to use that because you know what, we're special that way. And if
we can make life easier, then why not?
Exactly. Yes. You know, the whole art has progressed. So now we're going to begin to pack, and it's quite difficult to pack the soil together. It's harder than it looks, right? So perhaps put it down into the bucket and pack the soil right around the roots. In fact, let's do some more cheating. How about you put your plant into that and then pack it around in there? Because you're going to close the basket, the cocoa coir around it anyway, and we're going to cut it so that it's nice and smooth in a circle. Okay. So I'm going to do that as well. If you have any questions on the KOKADAMA, or you would like to find out more about bonsais, you have questions on your bonsais, please go ahead and WhatsApp us. You know the number 060-904-1056. Now, you want quite a pretty compressed ball. And another cheat that you can do is to actually put these into a stocking. So if you were to put all of this big ball into commission, you've got to really get some power in there.
No, it's like literally, like, I don't know, sometimes do I add more water, but then I think it's just the texture's right. It's probably just the technique that it's something different to normal planting because it needs to be like solid.
Yeah, normally you kind of want your soil loose, but here you want the soil pretty compact. And this one is pretty compact, and you need a bit of muscle on this thing, hey? Good grief. There we go. We're making
somewhat looks like an oblong ball, but
there we go. No, yours is looking so good. Mine's a bit of a triangle kind of I don't know, it looks like a camel foot pyramid or something. Do you know what I'm going to do? Actually, I'm going to do the stocking thing because this is for the birds. Honestly, there's a brand new pair of stock.
A wonderful way to use a stocking.
Exactly. Let's do this. Let's put some soil into the stocking, fill it up so that's the base.
Okay.
And then gooi our little KOKADAMA into it. Now, you could use a, what's the word? A mesh, a gardening mesh. You could use a gardening mesh. It's SALMA.
What's this?
It wants to run away.
Like, I'm totally into this right now, but
yes. So it's supposed to be very zen. It's supposed to be very tranquil.
I can imagine sitting somewhere with the birds chirping and the wind blowing, and you're sitting and doing this. It's going to take you a fair amount of time. You know, you're going to sit and mold it into a position or shape.
Yes. Okay. I think I'm getting somewhere here, SALMA.
With the stocking.
Yeah, I think I'm getting somewhere with the stocking. Wow, who knew a stocking stretched that far? Right, there we go. So we're going to keep filling that up with some soil. And now the trouble with using a stocking is that you wouldn't be able to grow moss on the outside because moss needs direct contact with your soil.
Okay.
And the soil must contain peat if you're wanting to grow moss around it. And that is what the peat is for. So that kind of looks like a weird shaped, odd shaped type of ball-y thing. If you're on the YouTubes or you're on the Facebooks, the YouTube, there's my little ball. Okay, I think I might need a little bit more soil in there. Folks, listen, when I say to you this sounds easier than it looks, I promise.
This is a skill, this one.
This is a skill. You need to really create that shape
that you told me and try and put it straight into this. What did you call it?
The cocoa coir. So the reason I went with this first before the cocoa coir is that I actually wanted to cut the cocoa coir so that it's smooth. It makes a ball around my plant. But for the listeners who are only on radio, let's talk a little bit about how you would care for this plant, because you asked a good question.
Yeah,
how do you water it?
If this one is hanging, how would you water it? Because You mentioned you would need to put a plate underneath, but now where would you ideally hang it? At the entrance, by a kitchen?
It depends on what your plant wants. So if your plant wants sun, you need to put it in a sunny spot. If your plant is an indoor shady plant, then you would use a shady spot. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to tie the stocking. I'm going to lift that up. You see, it's a bit of a flat girl at the moment, the soil. But the reason for that is because I need to get rid of this so that I can shape it. So I'm going to first let me tie it down. Let me take some of this jute ribbon and twine, and I'm going to tie it off at the top.
How common are these type of plants here in South Africa? Do you find a lot of people doing this?
Do you know, if you go to a florist, you'll pay a fortune for this.
Okay, maybe perhaps we just don't notice them.
Yeah, we don't notice them. So when you tie off your KOKADAMA at the top, whether you're using a plain ball or you're using mesh or you're using a cocoa coir, leave a long piece of string and then tie it off. Because why? Because you're going to need that long piece of string to tie it off at the end once you have wrapped the ball over and over and over and over again. So I'm going to tie it off down there.
How do you hang these up?
With a string. With a string. So all you do is you can use a string to hang them up. You can put them on a beautiful hanging glass bowl. You can get really creative. Yeah.
Have I done the right thing now? Or
that looks beautiful. Look at you go.
No, it looks decent.
It does look decent.
Do I tie a string around this also?
So you're going to need to tie a string around that. So I'm now got my KOKADAMA in a stocking, and there's my ball. That is actually what it's supposed to look like. So there we go, folks. That's not too bad. There we go. Now, if I wanted to turn this into an actual KOKADAMA proper with the moss on the outside, I wouldn't have used the stocking. I would have used a mesh, and then I would put the moss on the outside. Now, the easiest way to put the moss on a KOKADAMA ball on the outside is to take a bowl approximately the size of the KOKADAMA ball that you're making, and take a towel or a fabric on the bowl, make it wet, fill it with your sphagnum moss. Let your sphagnum moss soak. Then you're going to place the KOKADAMA into the center and just use the fabric to raise the sphagnum moss onto your actual, what was I saying? Onto your KOKADAMA, yes, and stick it there. So now I have my KOKADAMA ball and I have these two bits of string that I am going to tie one into the other. So what I did essentially, think of it as a ball with the trees sticking out, and I needed to tie the stocking onto it. So that's what I did. There's my little ball. Look, there's the KOKADAMA. KOKADAMA. Banana. Banana coconut.
Sunday morning,
shake it all.
Ask if he's used to it right now.
Okay, so I'm actually squeezing some of the excess water out, and you can see how much actually just keeps on coming on out.
So you wouldn't need to water yours, really?
No, I wouldn't. So I do want to go ahead and put that into coir, but I am wondering if I should, or if I should just leave it like that, because she's so pretty. She's so pretty, as she is. She's delicate. She's delicate. So delicate. I wonder.
Mine looks like I ate too much in the Sunday lunch.
No, so what I was going to suggest is, if you're going to use that, is that you cut down the side, cut a piece off so that you can wrap it nicely. You know, like you're wrapping a
gift.
Yes, like a gift wrap, yes. I think she's so pretty. Look how pretty she is, darling. I'm going to put her onto a cake plate so that you can see what a...
Wow.
Oh, I mean, okay, she's soggy. She's a bit moist. But she's pretty. Look at her. Isn't she just delightful? Very modest. Very demure.
See, she's
very muddy.
She's standing confidently.
She's standing very confidently.
2024. We don't care what shape you are.
No.
So you don't in any way.
Yeah. So I'm just going to actually use some of this fabric to take some of the moisture away. I'm not digging this moisture.
I'm putting a cassette on mine.
Yes, remember, folks, you are welcome to WhatsApp us any questions that you may have, any comments, or gardening questions for that matter. We can take them. 060-904-1056. So there's my little ball. Oh, she's looking very pretty. Very pretty. Very. There we go. There we are. Now she's holding form. That's fine. She's holding form.
How's this? Like a corset, KOKADAMA style.
Oh, that's beautiful. But listen, this doubles up as a weapon. Feel that how heavy that is.
Maybe women should grow a couple of those at the entrance of their homes in case of invaders. Cannons away.
Cannons away.
Now, is that expected to grow? How bigger will it grow now from a practicality sense?
Within 2 to 3 years, it's going to keep growing. It's going to consume all of the food that's in here. So once a month, in your watering, you only need to water really about once a month, is you're going to put some water into a bucket, and you're going to add some food into your water. So plant food, essentially NPK, standard NPK, unless you're growing a little bonsai with fruit, and then you need more of the P when it's for flower and more of the K, P, phosphorus.
Okay. So N for nitrogen. Kindergarten, here we go.
N is for nitrogen. Okay, N is for nitrogen.
Right.
And we need nitrogen for green leaves.
Right.
P is for phosphorus. We need phosphorus for the setting of flowers. Oh. And then the K is for potassium. And we need potassium for the flowers to turn to fruit and the fruit to not fall off. So, gosh, Salma, you're far ahead of me, girl.
No, I mean, is this the right? Am I doing the right thing?
That's stunning. That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Because what we want to do now is to do exactly what Salma is doing, which is to start to wrap the
Look at that. I did it, and I didn't even know that's what you're supposed to do.
See? You just kind of got it wrapping because it was falling apart, did you?
I went all corset mode on my poor thing. Tuck in there.
Now there's a technique for wrapping your KOKADAMA. I tell you.
Sorry, now you're going to show me the real way to do it.
Is you want to go. Okay, so if you're on YouTube, you can see this. Leave a long piece of string on the end because you want to use that to tie off, right? And then take your string and go in a squircle. It goes down and it meets the first line, a squircle, and then you crisscross it. And then you keep on crisscrossing without killing the plant, hopefully. As you rotate your KOKADAMA ball, you are crisscrossing the yarn or twine. So she looks like coconut. Yeah, she looks like a coconut. But
I like this.
You're restraining the roots the same way that you would in a pot, in a bonsai. You're restraining the roots. Now, what is this? Oh, it's the thread, of course, Rabia. It's the thread. So, do you know, Salma, on a completely different topic, as we wrap our KOKADAMA, because how much more can we say? But we're wrapping the KOKADAMA.
Yes.
What are you growing at the moment in your garden? Are you growing any food?
I haven't had the best of luck when it comes to food, because I think it requires a lot of, like you always said, care, attention, the soil and all that. So I think in my case, there was a particular brand in Durban that we all know and love. Now everybody's after those minis. I'm not going to mention the brand, but we all know them already.
What do you mean? Pumpkins and things?
No, but those little mini items, that's the hype right now.
Oh, in the shops?
Yes,
right.
Now, before, what used to happen is used to get those little seedlings from the same store.
Oh, yes, I see what you mean.
So I used to collect those and plant, and I used to have radishes and everything, spring onions, the works. I had wonderful chilies, everything growing. At one point, we had butternut, gem squash, lettuce, cabbage, everything.
Wow.
And then I had my son.
Oh, yes.
So in comes my son who loves digging up my garden. So it is the biggest risk for me to plant anything that requires any care and attention because he loves messing in the garden. So I do have the chilies, the curry leaves, the odd green peppers, strawberries that come out, spring onions and chives. But I don't tend to go a little more.
So you have them, but not because you put them there, but because they're just growing. Or have you planted them? Oh, you have planted them. Yeah. Okay, that's great.
But I'm focusing now on the pretty flowers because now you want your kids to now learn that sense of appreciation of colors.
Yes.
And now they get a fascination when they see the little buds. I've got these fuchsia plants that I've planted, and they wait for them to open because when you open them, they fall like little bells.
Yes.
and they're pink and purple, and my daughter just loves it because it's the most beautiful thing ever, and they hang down. It's lovely. So, and I've got hydrangeas now, which I'm just about to plant.
Oh, wonderful.
So looking forward to
So here's an interesting fact about hydrangeas that I shared with you yesterday.
Yeah.
If you have white hydrangeas and you're wanting to change their color, you can add different nutrients to the soil to change their color. Can you believe it's 10 to 10? Can you believe it? My word. So there is my little KOKADAMA, the finished product, and I think she looks quite pretty. Now, I love it. I
crisscross fashion.
Crisscross fashion. So what you could do now is you could make a little macrame basket, or you could just take some string macrame. It's not.
Oh, those, yes, I've seen those.
Or you could just take the same twine and do what you did, get creative and allow just a string. So you could hang it sideways, you could hang it upside down if you wanted to. So this is where the KOKADAMA really comes into its own, because if I had plants sticking out the top, I could have plants coming out the bottom as well. You see that? So you can get really creative and have some ivy, and you can make these as gifts. The cultural significance of these is harmony, for one. And of course, it is. It stands for motherly love, and I can imagine that because it's like a womb, right?
Into it.
Not only that, it looks like a little something has grown out of this ball. Like a little baby cheese just popped its head out. Hello, there it is. She's grown.
Okay, so when you're watering it, I don't know if you've mentioned or if you just want to just
when you water this, you're going to take your bucket of water.
Yeah.
You're going to put some food in there, some plant food in there. That's where we were talking about the NPK. I got sidetracked. And you put that in there into your water. And remember, a little goes a long way. So use maybe, if the dosage says to use a tablespoon, you're going to use a teaspoon or half a teaspoon. And you're going to put your KOKADAMA into the water till about a third of the way up and allow it to soak the water up. And then again, you take your cloth and you can kind of just dry it out. Now, and that's it. That's what you do to water it. Now, traditionally, with the KOKADAMA, they're using trees, so you don't necessarily have to, redo it every few years, because as a bonsai, the bonsai trees are cut back. But if you're using ornamentals like this, they can grow and they can take over the entire ball, the entire KOKADAMA ball. If I was going to use sphagnum moss, as I said, I would put the sphagnum moss into the bowl. If I can demonstrate, I would line this cloth. I would wet this. Let me hold it up to the camera. So I've got a bowl for the listener at home that's not on camera. I have a bowl, and then I have a cloth inside the bowl, flat. If that cloth were wet, I would line this with sphagnum moss, make it damp, leave it overnight damp. Then I would put my KOKADAMA ball in, and I would simply lift the fabric and press the sphagnum moss onto the ball.
But you said now because you've got a stocking.
Now I've got a stocking.
So that's not going to work.
No, that's not going to work. But I quite like it as it is. Looks like a coconut, doesn't it?
It's beautiful.
I think it's stunning. Yes, there we go.
So I could add moss to mine.
Yes, so we've got some messages that have come in. Hafiza says, Assalamu alaikum, love your program. Okay, let's see what she says here. You plant your chili tree when the plant is small, pinch out the top, then you get more branches. In this way, you get more chilies on your tree, even tomato trees, some flower plants, more branches, more flowers. Absolutely. So the terminal bud, the bud at the top is called the terminal bud. You've made such a wonderful comment over here, because there's so much to unpack here. If you're doing chili trees, then you don't just take the terminal bud off the top of your chili tree, but off the ends of the branches if you want it to open up. But with a chili tree, you also need to make sure that there aren't too many branches on the inside, because then all you get is the chilies don't want those branches that are vertical. They want the horizontal branches going out. So you could nip the terminal bud to keep a tree small as well. If you've bought a tree like a pawpaw tree and the tree's grown too tall, you can cut it You can seal it off. Some cinnamon and toothpaste works well as a sealant for your trees. And then it will also begin to, boom, throw out branches down the sides and down the middle. So there is our KOKADAMA.
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 I'm worried about the
KOKADAMA.
hanging part of it though. So
Why?
what type of string? You need like a really strong
You could
string?
use exactly this kind of twine. It would be fine. You could use this
Okay.
kind of twine.
And it will
This
hang.
was pretty strong one. And you just need to make sure that you have enough line. So think about it. You do a line around the bottom, a line around the top, basket weave it up, and then you can suspend it. And
Sure.
again, suspend it sideways,
So indoor
upways,
or
upside
outdoor?
down. Indoor or outdoor, depending on the plants that you have grown.
Okay.
So these are outdoor. Your portulaca are outdoors. They like the
I'm
sun.
thinking to put them just at my entrance.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect, because the bamboo palm also likes sun.
Yes.
So you're good. But just remember, if it's in full sun, your ball is going to dry out really quickly. So you might need to water it more frequently.
Sure.
Let's have a look at our messages over here. NK says, Salam's lovely program. I'm interested in bonsai. Where do I start? So go back and look through YouTube. We did our
We're going
bonsai.
to do a bonsai demo. I'm saying
Again.
it now. No.
Are we?
You're going to do one, which
Okay.
is going to be a class, because the one that you did with me was so informative.
Okay.
So many people said you rather do it, and you actually have an idea for future programs.
Yes,
don't
I
you?
do. Yes, I do.
Where it's going to be more live and
Yes.
interactive with a live audience, because it's amazing to do this like a class.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the benefit
Yeah.
of it is.
And in fact, in November, what we'll do at the end of November is we will do a miniature garden demo. And we'll have 10 listeners who want to join us. We will give you a list of, what you can bring along, and
can do it
we
right
can
here.
have our own things here as well. And we can have it here so you can come through and we can do your miniature garden with you. Hey,
think
so
that'd
we'll
be
do that
awesome.
at the end of every month. So if you're interested in doing that, you'll need to WhatsApp us during the show, during Green Thumbs Up, from 9 to 10 every Sunday. But Salma, it's time for your show.
Is it?
Yes, look at that. We have
10
1
o'clock.
minute to go. We have 1 minute to go. So if you have not watched us, please go ahead and watch the YouTube or the Facebook. There is your KOKADAMA. Let's hold it up. There it is, our KOKADAMA. We did good. We done
Thank
good.
you.
sis.
Thank you for
We done
teaching me
good.
this.
You're
Amazing.
so very welcome. Until next week, remember, today's a beautiful day to be happy. So from me, Sister Salma KAZI, WAHAB, Sister Salma KW. She's going to take off for the Sunday Lounge, and the entire team at Al Ansar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Getting green through your day. Radio Al Ansar.
Come get our butcher's best for less at Checkers Foods Cowie Park. Enjoy certified halal butchery products like half lamb, just $89.99 per kg. Dunya sausages, just $99.99 per kilo. All beef roast, $99.99 per kg. Steakhouse classic ribeye on the bone, just 90 Rand per kg. Beef chuck or blade and brisket, just $89.99 per kg. Deals valid until Sunday, October 27th, only at Checkers Foods Cowie Park. Now certified by the NIHT, the National Independent Halal Trust, across our butchery, bakery, and deli.
Your style upgrade is here. J. Dr. Jamshed brings Spring Sale with up to 50% off on all items. From 23rd October to 3rd November 2024, shop in stores or online at va.junajamshed.com.
Radio Al Ansar. 24/7. 365.
An informative Islamic global perspective. This is Al Ansar News.
Making news, this are the 27th of October. The news from Durban, 90.4 FM, Pietermaritzburg, 105.6 FM. The ANC says the presidential working group is making progress in eThekwini.